Welcome back, everybody, to Overdunk. My name is Zoinks, and you are listening to a competitive Pokemon Unite podcast. This is episode 53, and it is going to be a huge one. We have so much to talk about. I mean, Unite Rivals, one of the biggest tournaments of the entire offseason, just concluded this last weekend, and already there's no chance to get any breath. This next weekend, the February Open Qualifiers kick off for the entire Western world, so there is a ton to break it down, and Lazadin, my duo, you are here to talk about it all with me. Lazadin, how has your last week been?
Oh, it's been crazy. I've definitely been working on a lot of projects that we'll be talking about later in the show, trying to prep for a patch that came out just this morning for a tournament that's in 4 days, which, sure.
Yeah, it sounds like Unite. Yeah, it sounds about right. I feel like I've heard this song before, so it will be exciting. Now, just a quick top of the show. We don't do timestamps here. Maybe one day, but at this point, we don't. Also, Gamma, can you kick that one out? We are going to be talking about a ton of stuff. Of course, recapping all of Unite Rivals, and then we have to talk about the patch notes that just dropped last night. We also have the patch notes. We have a upcoming huge tournament. The landscape of the Unite scene has changed a little bit this upcoming year, number 2. Seriously, there's so much to break down. But let's start with the tournament that just happened last week. Actually, no, hold on. Before we get to that, there is a bit, well, I was calling it drama again. Lazadin, you were calling it something different, but we did have an unfortunate thing sweeping the Unite community this last couple of days. They were telling you to check general in this Discord. Lazadin, talk to the people. What's going on, and how do you protect yourself?
Okay, so there is a DM bot, basically, that is going around. They send you the DM check general to it has a server called Colosso. If you go to the server, it asks you to verify by scanning a QR code. If you scan that QR code, it keeps your authentication and bypasses your 2FA. You lose your Discord account. It's gone.
Yes.
Do not scan random QR codes. I beg of you.
Now, I can't, all right, podcast listeners, if you're like me and you can't believe that players were baited by this, it was more than one, for sure more than one. I would say dozens potentially got baited by this. So if you have not learned in this world by now to not scan random QR codes, especially on fishy messages, please do not do so. Otherwise, your Discord account will go completely away. So please protect yourselves online. Do not check general as the DM requests you do.
Someone in chat named Virus telling us to scan codes from strangers. Thanks, Virus.
Internote. Yeah, thanks, Virus. Yes, please do not. If you learned anything on this podcast of all of the Unite advice we have given, please just don't scan random QR codes. All right, well, now that we got that juicy drama out of the way, let's start discussing this last tournament that happened over the weekend. Unite Rivals was sponsored by Nouns Esports, and then, of course, hosted by Spraggles and Chris Heroes, and TO Extraordinaire Gamma was behind the scenes, spectating and operating a lot of this tournament. So if you are not impressed already by the murderer's row of names I just mentioned, I think the event itself will speak for itself because it was an incredible one. Unite Rivals 2023, I think in total was 5 days, right? 2 open qualifier days, and then a top 4 seeding days for both regions, as well as a show event of North America versus EU, 4th place versus 4th place, and 3rd place versus 3rd place, and all that. And it was very, very exciting start to finish. I loved it. EU is the best, clearly. I've always said that. I don't know why anyone would think otherwise. I'm a Talibolo believer, as is Lazadin, I believe. So we do have to mention that. Now, we should talk about the actual event. So let me pull this up on screen so everybody can see it. Unite Rivals event. It all started off on Friday with the EU top 4. The Open Qualifiers we did talk about last week. This is one thing I should say. We did record an episode last week. Podcast listeners, if you were expecting a podcast in your feed last week, I'm really sorry it didn't show up there. We just were kind of hit with too many audio issues to really make it a decent episode. It was only about 30 minutes. If you really want to see it, audio issues, connectivity issues, all of the above. If you really want to check it out, you have, I think, the next, 20 days or whatever it is to check it out on the Unite Mike's Twitch channel. If you want to go back and see the VOD, we mostly just talked about Rival, some ACL things, and honestly just some stuff we are rather frustrated with the Unite Championship Series. But some of those questions were answered this week, so we're going to be talking about it. But let's talk about the EU top 4 here, Lazadin. When it all came down to it, it was as follows: Telebolo Believers in first, Nouns Esports in second, Time to Shine in third, and Dogwater in fourth. I believe the same as came out in bracket, but still, it was a fun day of games. What were your thoughts on the EU top 4?
I didn't have a lot of time to watch the EU top 4, but I believe it was on a Friday. So
it was, yeah.
For me. But from what I did see, it was very, very impressive. Talibobo, of course, putting on an absolute show.
Yeah.
There was a lot of very, very unique picks I saw. Nouns Esports, of course, with their very unconventional drafting strategies.
Mm-hmm.
From what I remember, there was a lot of they mostly weren't on as much on the Dodrio banning train as we were. EU bans were very team specific, I guess. They were a lot more varied. Both regions do love our Mew.
That is true. EU just puts it in the jungle sometimes, so I think that's the only difference around our adoration of Mew. But it was actually interesting that you mentioned that about counter bans, counter picks, and then of course just interesting draft strategies. Gatlu from Nouns Esports was kind of doing an analyst role on Sunday on the broadcast and was just shipping in after games to give a little bit of a breakdown, mention their thoughts on draft and things like that. And one thing that Gatlu kept mentioning again and again about NA was just how surprised he was that they were so counterpick and bans directed at the other team forward compared to EU, whereas EU just sort of wants to stay in their own team's lane, play some unique strategies if they come to it, but really think about your own squadron first. And just these two schools of thought were interesting to see clash.
Yeah, I think a lot of NA's ban strategy comes down to we have a thing we ban unless we think you can't play it, and then we ban something else.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is you saw that we always banned Urshifu unless we didn't think that they would pick it, and then we didn't ban it. When we were second pick, obviously. No, it's very, very interesting. I'm excited to see how it all develops for sure once UCS is fully in swing.
Yeah, I think it'll be very, very interesting, like you were just mentioning. I mean, this could just be an individual meta of a tournament, or it could be telling of the future of the entire season. Who's to tell? I think the former is a lot more likely, though. Usually regional draft identities are not formed overnight, so we will see how they go. Last thing I wanted to talk about EU top 4, Lazin, with you is I lost my page. Last thing I wanted to talk about is this a true top 4 when it comes to EU? Do you think that Telebobo, Nouns, Time to Shine, and Dogwater are all teams that are genuinely you could consider within the top 4? Or to me, there's 1 and 2, tier gap 3 and 4. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think I feel mostly the same way, and the gameplay kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there's definitely I think maybe 1 or 2 other teams in EU that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head that I think belong in that same tier as the 3-4 here.
Yeah, so true. Squishy Squad is one that I was thinking of. Tilted has had some great tournament success in the past. Believe some of that was when Utah was playing on Tilted, if I can remember correctly. So that would definitely be a boon that they're trying to recover from. But yeah, Tilted, Squishy Squad, I've thought have been other really solid rosters, but Okay,
There was like there was another pretty good EU roster. Was it Feeling Cute? Was that the name?
Feeling
No, whatever.
cute, yeah. They are made up of a bunch of solid players. Of course, Akrama, formerly of Random Gaming,
Mm,
Nazu, formerly of the Yermans. I think a couple of the Yermans are on that squad. Kiva,
mm,
Nazu, but yeah. So really, really good names. It just didn't really seem like they could get it together for this tournament quite in time. And then
yeah.
Tanz's team too. Tanz and Vazid are together
Kansas
again,
team,
playing
yeah.
another team. So, um, definitely some names in EU out there that were still waiting to prove themselves, but I'm not super worried about those teams if I'm gonna
Yeah.
say anything. Like this one tournament that was pretty short notice, but was still very competitive. If these teams aren't really performing super well yet, I don't think it's too worrisome. They still are going to be preparing for the major tournament that's February qualifiers this upcoming weekend. Well, let's jump over to the NA top four. First off, congratulations to your team
Thank you.
winning the first place. This was a
We just gonna
really
talk about
fun game.
Sunday.
Yeah, we could. I was just gonna talk about quickly about the NA top four.
I know. I was joking. I was joking.
Oh yeah.
Um,
We just won't talk about Sunday at all. We'll skip past it. But NA
yeah.
top four worked out quite well in your favor.
Mhm.
Amaterasu, you 2-0'd, and then you were able to win a nail biter against GT, a
Oh
3-2
God.
set. Stressful, I'm sure, for you and the team. Absolute banger set to watch for anybody
Not
else.
Watergate. Not.
I loved it. I really loved it. Was Water Bear being played in this game?
Yeah, it was in fact picked in game three.
Yes.
Um, it looked pretty good until the last 2 minutes of the game.
Right.
Uh,
As
but
do many picks. Yes,
you
it
know,
might. Yeah, it'll truly test your test your patience in the final 2 minutes. But either
yeah,
way, no. Game number 3, you did lose Blue Bear, not as impactful, but you were able to win that game 3-2, and then you went on to beat Exodia 3-0. Of course, having the one game advantage. So a great run for Ascended. Obviously, really cementing their place as first place in the North America region. I think power rankings, seeding, everything should really be going that direction for you in tournaments ongoing. But what do you think of the competition? Amaterasu, Exodia, and GT?
I thought there were a lot of really, really talented teams here this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
There was definitely, like you saw, very distinct styles, like Exodia very much favoring the T-Tar above everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Eldegoss, very common for
yeah,
that
Aldegos
team.
T-Tar, Amaterasu playing the like early game aggressive junglers like Zoro alongside the Decidueye, like that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. And GT pulling out a lot of different things actually, but mostly relying on um, very like crit heavy auto attack junglers or auto attack melee junglers rather.
Right.
Um, yeah, I
Yeah.
thought yeah, there was definitely a lot of like really cool competition. Though I do, um, oh man, I don't want to be too BM.
No, it's okay.
Yeah,
If you had reservations about the tournament, go ahead and say it. It's all right.
yeah. No, like the BM here is like, though I like I guess there's two different like one like the top four was definitely a little strange due to the delays that had happened the previous weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and two, um, the from a viewer perspective, I understand why there was a second day of both top fours being played,
Right.
but the seating ended up the exact same.
It did. It did.
Uh,
Which I think in some circumstances is almost best. So
yeah,
that there's no finger pointing and very grumpy about seedings or anything like that in the
yeah,
initial run. So but yes, if it didn't end up like that, I think a lot of people would have some questions about why the tournament was done this way. I
yeah,
did ask some people about it. I think a lot of it was just it's a sponsored tournament and sponsors like screen time. So just having more games and more screen time is better for sponsors. You just have their name thrown out more and stuff like that. So I think it is a good idea. However, I don't know if we'll I don't know if we'll see many tournaments more like it. I think it was a cool experiment. I don't know if we'll see
yeah,
a repeat of top four in the future, but I don't know.
yeah.
I appreciated it because I was so excited. I was like, we got
Mhm.
four killer teams that I get to see play again. And I was really,
Yeah, I
really
mean,
excited
yeah,
about that. So
It's really exciting,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I can understand from a viewer experience why it's like, wait, I just watched this match go 5-0. Why am I watching it go 4-0 again?
Yes, yeah. That is definitely true. Um But okay, so as it stands, Exodia being able to 3-0 GT in the losers bracket was a pretty big shock to I think most people, including me. Exodia, not an unknown team.
Mhm.
Some good players that have had success in the past. Of course, it's just another Rex team, right? Rex always
Mhm.
puts together solid rosters. They have similar play styles. Rex obviously a shot caller in game. Teams are going to play similarly with him on the roster, and they get results. So Rex has done very, very well in the past. I don't think winning any huge tournaments really,
Mhm.
but coming very, very close. So I really do think it's a
Yep.
matter of time until a Rex team is able to take down what we would consider to be a major in Unite,
Yep.
which I don't know if we've really even had something like that other than Worlds and regionals. I think are our only things like as close
AOS
as we
Cup.
could call to.
Although I
Yeah,
guess AOS Cup was kind of tainted.
yeah, yeah. Next day, I'll Cup, I'll call it a major. How about
Yeah.
that? But okay. Well, anyway, that was Unite Rivals North America. Obviously, we saw Amaterasu again playing a lot of comfort picks like the Zoroark and the Decidueye. So just really
Mhm.
unique playstyles that are still finding success. Amaterasu did go 0-2 though in this top four. Bit of a surprise to me, at least. I thought they would definitely put up a better showing against Exodia, but still losing in a 2-1 fashion, not completely unheard of. But let's jump into Sunday. Let's talk about Sunday. We have to at some point, Lazadin.
I
I'm
know. I
sorry.
know.
Let's talk about Saturday. This was a show match, and we had our round one was Dogwater versus Amaterasu. Amaterasu able to play against the EU other fourth place and take it 3-1. So very, very exciting. Um, Obviously, NA starting hot. We love to see it. Following that, Time to Shine got to play GT. It was not close. GT got kind of
Mm.
mollywopped by Time to Shine.
They
3-0.
looked legitimately tilted. Like
Yeah.
the show they put on versus us versus every single match they played afterward looked night and day. Um,
Do you? Okay, this is an interesting question. Because I think GT has had similar struggles in the past as a roster. Obviously they've changed players and things like that in the past, but
mhm.
they're a streaky team, right? Like they have a couple of tournaments where like things are clicking, and GT is like a terrifying team to see in your bracket. Like GT is a
Mhm.
tough squad to manage, but sometimes if a couple of games don't go their way, GT will find themselves having to play a big losers bracket run all of a sudden because they go out
Mhm.
a lot earlier than you'd expect. So I don't know. I think that's just one thing that I would really like to see GT clean up is just a bit more of the consistency. But I want you to tell me, why do you think there was such a dramatic change from Saturday to Sunday on GT's side?
I think there's definitely an aspect of, by the way, for the stream viewers, Lemon Jesus Kratos.
Yeah.
There's definitely an aspect of the like getting so close and then like all of a sudden losing. Like, if I remember correctly, that game 5 was pretty shattering.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
Like
was kind of over in game two for sure. But
yeah, like only
mhm.
like like the game 3 and 4 kind of giving them that hope, and then maybe I'm remembering game 5 wrong, but I don't remember it being super close.
Right.
So like then that like kind of like getting that hope and then having it taken away so much can definitely throw you off your game a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, um, and this is another potential like TO point. I hate flaming my TOs. I love you guys. But Exodia getting a sub that wasn't on their original sub roster that was a significant upgrade over their player that was subbed out. Um,
Sure. Um. Yeah. Hey. Now still one. Now still one.
True.
I
No,
was-
no, 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 no.
oh,
Now
this
it's with
is
a
this
different
is
player.
in NA.
Yeah.
Okay, I see
So
what
I'm
you're
saying
talking
like
about.
those two events happening back to back in NA, like I'd be super tilted if I was in GT shoes, right? Like that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Um,
Gotcha. Yeah, that is frustrating to play against. I
mm,
can see that aspect of it too. That's a good point. But
mm.
um,
So
I
then like comes to Sunday, they're just out of it.
sure. Okay. All that to say, I do not want to take more credit that I think we have to away from Time to Shine, because I
For
do
sure, for
think they
sure.
are a really good roster. I said there was a bit of a tier gap between them and Nouns in 2 to 3. However,
Mhm.
if there is a gatekeeper team in AU, I think it's Time to Shine. Like, I think if you can beat Time to Shine, you are considered like one of the better teams in the region. They are a really, really solid roster. We have Chelvin, Seryu, Eberling, Lunderu, and Gek Okami. Sick names. I think Chelvin and Gek sticking together is really exciting for my part. And then they upgrade in crazy way the firepower, getting Seryu and Eberling. I don't know too much about Lunderu, but I still think that this roster is really, really good, and I have very high hopes for them upcoming this
Mhm.
next week and going forward. So
Yeah,
I
for
do
sure.
not want. I'm
Yeah,
not
like
gonna
let
say
me.
that GT just lost. I do think that
No,
Time to
yeah,
Shine had
no.
a
I think
factor of
that
winning this match.
I mean, like, I will be like to be fair here. Like, also like Time to Shine, I think would have put on a good performance either way. Like, even if they were playing against full strength GT, and I think it actually would have been better for their public appearance if they did, because I still think they win. Like for the record, I do favor them there.
Sure.
Time to Shine is like a lot of excellent players. Like Shelvin and Gek, I believe were at Worlds. I don't think any of the rest of them were, but like those two.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, Sarah, you just getting a lot of success outside of
yes, there you.
Worlds,
Yep.
like winning some tournaments as well. So
Yeah.
definitely a name we all recognize. A lot of clips being shown about of Sarah's Lucario play. So we definitely know and love that player. Let's move on to round 3. Nouns Esports versus Exodia, a
Oh
3-2
God.
match. A very interesting one. Okay, you have opinions. I want to hear them. Nouns Esports versus Exodia.
This was we're sitting there prepping for our series, right?
Yeah.
And half the time we were like, okay, surely this is gonna be over at this point, right? And then like something would just happen and then the other team would win and then like what? Um
Sure.
like that was a game of back and forth throws.
Yeah,
Like
there
all
was
over
some
the
fumbling.
place.
There was some fumbling of the bag in the end game. Definitely some things to work on. But that did make an exciting match to watch. If you are listening in podcast land and you're looking for a rivals game to actually go and watch, I would say game 1 and game 3 are both really exciting. Nouns versus Exodia was an interesting game for sure, but yes, there was some weird decisions made in endgame. Some weird things happened, and we ended with a 3-2 victory for Nouns. I really do think this was the game that EU kind of cemented. They were going to be looking really good as the rivals event went on. Exodia was playing with a substitute in this game, so a bit hurt. I know that roster really wanted to perform better day of. They had a lot to prove. Not many people have a lot of faith in Exodia. I think they changed a lot of people's minds in this last weekend, but I know they wanted to have a better performance. Having a substitute is always tough, but
Did I do a dramatic reading of the Bora Reach copy pasta?
oh my gosh. Okay. Yes, actually, go ahead. Do a dramatic reading of the Bora Reach copy pasta.
Okay, let me find it. Do, do, do,
Okay.
do.
It
To
shouldn't be
be
hard to follow.
fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Tyranitar. The
Mm.
farming patterns are extremely subtle, and without a solid grasp of Unite experience, most of the pathing will go over a typical player's head. There's also Larvitar's surprising laning phase, which if deftly played is better than Lucario, and its design draws heavily from Godzilla literature, for instance. The fans understand this stuff. They have the intellectual capacity to truly appreciate the depths of these plays, to realize they're not just insane, they say something deep about life.
Oh my
As a
gosh.
consequence, people who dislike Tyranitar truly are idiots. Of course, they wouldn't appreciate, for instance, the power in Tyranitar's Unite move, Tyrannical Rampage, which itself is a cryptic reference to Tyranitar's name and demeanor. I'm smirking right now, just imagining one of these addle-pated simpletons, scratching their heads in confusion as Bora Reach's mechanical skill unfolds itself on their switches or mobile devices. What fools, how I pity them.
Okay. All right, there you go, folks. That is the copy pasta that was running rampant in every Discord and Twitch chat that I saw this weekend. Yes, the Bora Reach copy pasta is going to join the high tiers, I believe, of copy pastas in the Unite community. Curios at the Dance is another one, I think. There's a lot of very, very good ones. So thank you for that dramatic reading. An incredible performance, I must add, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, well done. All right, let's end this discussion. Ascended got beat into the ground unbelievably bad by Talibopa believers. It was not close. This one hurt. What are your thoughts, analyst for Ascended?
They were the better team. That is my thoughts. But okay, I'm gonna make this. I'm just gonna like full on just be nice to them. They were 100% better. They had a lot of very good game plans. They executed extremely well. Yutao, Klaus, Toonslim, Megu, Zervis, all of them are some of the best players in their roles. They had wonderful synergy built up, surprisingly good considering the amount of time they've been playing together. Their gameplay was near flawless. Like, it was insane. There's just nothing else I can say. We had a lot of issues with, when you're putting together a roster, like even one player can change the dynamic a fair amount, and we had a couple of role swaps.
Yep.
And we haven't. This is gonna sound a bit BM, but we haven't been pushed a lot yet, right?
Sure. Yeah. No, that is not BM. I think that's true.
So it was extremely educational for us to have this experience of getting truly stomped into the floor. And I believe we'll come out a lot stronger for it, but I cannot both thank them enough for teaching us that lesson, and also praise them enough for how absolutely insane Taliboba believers are.
Yeah. I think it was sick. This match was really interesting to watch from a spectator's point of view. I am really happy that it happened to your team, that you were able to get that experience. Now Sended can start to learn how to lose and how to bounce back. That's going to be exciting for your team. That is another great result. But yeah, I think Taliboba really proved they are number one in EU for sure. Really proved their best against number one in North America. So yes, amazing work. All right, yeah, I'll bring us back to our people up. So yes, it is me, Zoinks, and then of course Lazadin as well talking on the stream there. We got some new viewers, so hey, what's up everybody? Welcome in to Overdunk, competitive Unite podcast. We just finished breaking down Unite Rivals 2023. Now, there is a fun little graphic that I want to talk about quickly, just to talk about meta around this tournament. It was really, really exciting to watch and see how that all played out. But let's take a look at the actual thing I'm talking about here on Twitter. Poker_PKU on Twitter put up some really cool graphics taken from Unite Rivals tournament organized by Nouns Esports. Many thanks to Chris Heroes for giving me permission to run it. Here's a comparison of the pick bands per region for the tops. Now, I believe this person used to be a statistical analyst for Stamina Esports. I don't know if it was in the Unite category specifically, because Stamina plays in a lot of different games, but either way, some really cool things. They have the top 10 most used Pokemon by region. Shockingly, Blastoise taking the number one spot at 23. EU choosing Mew 25 games, so a ton of Mew games in EU. Blastoise getting 23, which was really, really exciting. Interesting choices, though. North America is back on this Blastoise train. How you feeling about it, Lasman?
I think Blastoise is really, really valuable Pokemon to have in a draft format, right? Because if you draft a Blastoise, it says nothing. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it could be you can put it defender. It's not great defender, but you can do it.
Sure.
You can put it top. You can put it attacker. You can put it jungle. Like, it is a 5-role flex, essentially. Yeah. So it's super, super versatile. It plays really well into the popular meta picks. Like, Dodrio into Blastoise is miserable. Scyther has no shot of one-shotting you. Like, it's a very, very versatile pick that has a lot of things it's good against.
Yeah, I was going to say, I believe that's why Blastoise is so incredibly high and Scyther is so low on our play sheet, where at EU, you don't see something with Blastoise, but Scyther taking that number 2 spot. Also,
we had more Scyther bans too.
Yeah, definitely more banned. That is another graphic. We'll have to get to that. But I see some people asking chat. We are going to talk about patch. There's just so much to talk about on this episode of Overdunk. But after we're finished breaking down this tournament, we are going to be discussing the patch notes after this. So yeah, just hold your horses. We will get to that point. Anything else really interesting to you on this graphic of most used Pokemon?
Yeah, the EU has a lot higher priority on Snorlax.
Oh yeah. I
Um,
mean, didn't even make our top 10.
yeah, true. I'm not entirely sure where that is. I mean, like we both agree that Mime is Omega broken.
Right.
Um, but like I guess it's like hmm, we just like I guess we prefer Slowbro because the ultimate's good at shutting down the
Mm-hmm.
like really annoying carries with like Urshifu and Zoroark is more popular over here, I think.
Yeah.
Scyther, Dodrio, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
maybe that's where it's coming from. I'm not entirely sure. It's very interesting though.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's jump over to total picks slash bans. So, top 10 Pokemon most used in total. This is pretty interesting to me. I mean, a lot of Mew, obviously 42 plays. I don't think there's any huge shockers here to me. So, let's jump over top 10 top Pokemon most banned in total. Yes, Urshifu by far the biggest ban hammer worthy Pokemon. Urshifu with 31 bans in all of the spectated games. And that is more than double of the next Pokemon, Blissey, only receiving 14. Urshifu at 31. Notably, Sableye only at 1 ban. I think an organized tournament play, Sableye definitely falls off pretty hard. And then the rest of the bans, I mean, Mew makes sense, Scyther makes sense, Dodrio even makes sense. The rest of them just seem to be sort of team-specific where these bans fall into. But anything shouting out to you on the most banned Pokemon in total?
I actually think that Sableye bans being that low makes sense. Not because I don't think Sableye is good. I think we definitely should have picked it more.
Okay.
But because Sableye is a Pokemon you only need to worry about if somebody didn't ban Blissey, right?
Right.
Like if you have Blissey against Sableye, the matchup is so free. Like,
Mm-hmm.
fun little fact about Sableye Ultimate: there is exactly 3 seconds every 6 seconds where it will work on a Blissey, because it lasts so long. The Blissey's passive will cancel it. And then if the Blissey's
Interesting.
passive cancels it, then you just safeguard the other person that got Sableye ulted if they somehow got two, and the Sableye ult is entirely worthless. Like it's actually so hard to play. Um,
Interesting. Well, yet again, Sableye, or Blissey rather, a absolutely bonkers strong Pokemon. That will, it
yeah,
feels like will never change. But we'll see.
yeah.
We'll
So
see
it's
where
like
that goes.
that's the reason why Sableye. The Urshifu ban I think should be higher.
Mm-hmm.
31 is too low.
Yes, yeah.
Um,
Somehow it should be higher. Well, I mean, if you're on purple side, I don't really see the reason to ban it. So,
true,
I think
true.
if there was a reason, then you would see it at 62. It would be the perma ban in every
I mean,
game.
how many matches were there though? Like I
I
think the
I
amount of
actually don't
matches there
know. I
were.
wish I had that statistic
Yeah.
right nearby, but yeah, it was very interesting. Okay, well, I think these bands make sense. The rest
Mm.
of the graphics that Poker put together were just some really interesting individual player statistics. I don't think we need to break them down too much, but we have top scorer Gatlu from EU taking that title 1579, but your teammate Oblivion at 1447. Shocker, the Dodrio players are putting up numbers in terms of score. That makes a lot of sense to me. Top kills, though. Nouns Esports taking both of the top spots, Gatlu and Adesu, over at 107 and 75, respectively. Overlord close behind at 71. Assists, another Nouns Esports doubleheader. Geese and Bruv up there. Rex with a very impressive 98, though. Not breaking into 100 like Bruv and Geese, but Slowbro on Rex is pretty much a perma pick, and you are going to see that makes a lot of sense. Surf is going to line up a ton of assists for that Pokemon. Or Scald, honestly. So really, really cool to see. Um, the only other one that I really saw that I thought was super cool, well, one, Espo getting top heals in game, which was pretty exciting. But
Bars.
top damage received is Redmaw taking this one. A lot of people tried to shut that person down. When they were charging up whatever secure it was, all cannons were firing on whatever Red Maw was selected, but that is a total of, oh gosh, numbers are hard. I think it's 1,120,594 points of damage, so a
Yeah.
lot of power being thrown towards that player.
I feel like it's really easy to make a joke about hinting. It's really, really easy. I don't get
Sure,
what
yeah,
you're
that's true. Numbers can tell good stories and sometimes sad stories. True. But hey, I mean, they were able to stay up and running for long enough to soak up more than 100,000 damage than the player below them. So Rex was next up, and Redmaw absorbed more than 100,000 damage. Now, I don't believe these are averaged out per game. So if Redmaw and Nouns Esports played more games, that's the
They
same
did, yeah.
with Exodia, right? So they were in the most games. These numbers are going to be pretty amplified. So that is just something to pay attention to. But yeah, I think that is going to kind of bring us to the conclusion of Rivals breakdown. We spent a long time talking about it, but I think it was a big enough tournament that it was worth describing. I think it really sets the stage for upcoming tournaments with how good these competitive teams that we really have with a top point of EU and NAR. But Lassinen, do you have any more words about Rivals and the impact of it on our scene?
I've spoken extremely critically about it, but
Mm-hmm.
like I want to make it very clear it was an extremely positive experience overall. I'm super, super happy, and I'm looking forward to next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, again, first run of this kind of tournament, but I think it did go pretty well. Yeah, Unite Rivals 2024 absolutely needs to happen. Yeah, it's got to be bigger. It's got to be better. Get some more regions in there. Of course, I know that they're LATAM always looking to compete, so get them their own region to play too. That'll be a lot of fun. And Lazan and I are going to look forward to breaking down all the action next year. But we have even more stuff to break down in this episode. That's right, a patch did just drop last night. If we are recording this on Tuesday, dropped on Monday night. If you're listening in podcast land, it's probably Wednesday or Thursday, so a couple of days now. Hopefully our takes are somewhat solid and not completely off the wall wrong. But let's pull it up on the screen for people watching on YouTube. Here we go. Update date time, of course, on the 30th of January, patch 1.8.1.6. Shop updates, event updates, bug fixes, and text fixes. I really hope these bug fixes include some draft fixes. Have you noticed anything like that by chance, Lazadin?
I haven't. We haven't played new scrims since the
Okay.
patch drop, so I have no idea.
Gotcha. Well, who knows? We'll have to keep moving on past that. Sableye, the first Pokemon to be getting a change. It seems like it's just the Shadow Sneak attack that it has. The time it takes from when this move is used until Sableye enters Stealth has now been given I believe almost a full second, 3/4 of a second increase. So from 0.75 seconds to 1.5 seconds, and Sableye cannot enter Stealth if it is left unable to act between the time Shadow Sneak is used and when Stealth begins. So a little bit easier to prevent Sableye from entering Stealth even when using the Shadow Sneak move. Lazanin, what are the thoughts on Sableye here?
This is extremely healthy counterplay that probably should have existed from the beginning.
Sure. Yeah, fair point.
I would say that the pick is not really that much weaker. Knockoff was already good, and this like knockoff Sableye is the same Pokemon it was before.
Mm-hmm.
And even Shadow Sneak Sableye, like just don't get stunned forehead.
Just don't get stunned forehead. Yeah, so true. So true.
Um, and this 1.5 second timer also like opens up some play opportunities for the Sableye. Like there's clips of people chaining boosted auto fears by activating Shadow Sneak and then fearing someone, and then fearing them a second time because they pop into
Okay.
stealth right after. Yeah,
Okay, that sounds
yeah.
fun. All right. So,
Um,
okay, but hey, at the very least, that is a combo that takes some level of knowledge and performance to pull off. So, skill
True.
intensive hero, maybe? We'll see. We will see. I think these Sableye changes, to me, allow for some counterplay. I think it just makes Sableye even tougher to play at really competitive levels. I think it's still going to be a menace in solo queue, and we're just going to have to kind of deal with that for now.
Yep.
Fu single strike style, aka Darky Fu, or the dark build of this Pokemon. Wicked Blow, damage reduction while charging has moved down by 10% from 30 to 20, and Wicked Blow Plus has moved down by 20% from 60% to 40%. The Unite move has reduced its damage by 25%, and then probably the biggest change, specifically to the Unite move, is now when no direction is designated, Pretty much the only reason you're using this Unite move. Ebon Fist deals damage to and throws only the designated Pokemon. So no more triple uppercuts happening with this Pokemon's Unite move, which lands Wicked Blow onto... It's just so... It was so strong. I think this is a pretty healthy change. What do you think?
I think the damage reduction and the single target, it's called single strike.
Yes.
It should be single target.
Yeah.
It's super, super healthy. The Wicked Blow damage reduction change, Wicked Blow plus Urshifu was the tankiest Pokemon in the entire game while that button was held. Like, literally the tankiest.
Is it more than King's Shield Aegislash? Like, when in shield form?
Like,
interesting.
It's comparable to Hoopa Unbound and a Spinning Blastoise with Rapid Spin Plus.
Oh my gosh. But even more than both of those. That's crazy.
Yes. Now you're only about as tanky as a fully stacked Mamoswine. Only.
All right. Well, I mean, we'll take what we can get at this point. And hey, they have been known to hit Pokemon in multiple waves of balance changes in the past. So hopefully we can look forward to more. But I think the damage reduction is the number one thing I wanted them to aim for on this Pokemon. Give it some counterplay. I don't mind if there are powerful picks in Unite. I don't care if there are stronger Pokemon than other Pokemon, because for one, that's just always going to happen no matter what. We're going to find out the optimal Pokemon. We're going to find the best Pokemon. But I just want there to be some element of counterplay before it was seriously like, if Urshifu's in pit, it's over. Like, you just got to try to win some other way. And it was...
you got a Slowbro.
You got Slowbro. Slowbro can only put out so many fires. I think it's really what it's coming down to. But... either way, it is, I think it's a good change. Single Strike, seeing some substantial nerfs. Now, interestingly enough, Rapid Strike style, or Blue Shifu, or Water Bear, whichever nomenclature you've chosen for Urshifu. Yes, Rapid Strike style has gotten some big buffs. Boosted basic attack cooldown reduction, 1.5 seconds up to 2 seconds, so half a second cooldown reduction for your boosted basics, so you're going to get those moves back quite a bit more. Surging Strikes the cooldown from 13 seconds to 11 seconds. What are your thoughts on this one?
Okay, this patch note is sort of wrong.
Okay, interesting.
So the way it used to work is, that the boosted would decrease the cooldown of Surging Strikes by 1.5 seconds and the cooldown of Liquidation by 2. Now, it reduces the cooldown of Liquidation and Surging Strikes by 2 seconds, but the cooldown of Surging Strikes Plus by 1.5 seconds. That's probably a bug.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, 1.5 seconds is pretty wild. Okay.
So like that and that's what it used to be last patch. So I think they just, like, when they changed the base Surging Strikes, they forgot to change the plus version. Oops.
Yeah.
So Water Bear still has a power negative bug there. But even with Surging Strikes Plus, it's still buffed, right? Like the 13 to 11 still applies. And it's huge, especially for your early and mid game where Water Bear was already super strong. This is going to be really, really impactful. The Unite move change doesn't change much because people still fall out of it.
True.
But, I mean, hey, it's the thought that counts.
True. Also, I'm sorry to stop you right there, Lazanin. We are going to have a surprise guest join mid-show, everyone. The content cowboy themselves has decided to hop in and put their input into, so just give us 1 second, and we'll have a voice call all ready to go.
Okay.
All right, everybody, we are back. Content Cowboy now on the roster. Spraggles, what's up? How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Zoinks.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm excited. It was just Lazard and I breaking everything down, but I'm excited to have your input. We just talked all about your tournament, the Rivals tournament. We were breaking down everything, talking about the teams, the games, the draft picks, and everything. Very, very exciting. But now we're headed into the wonderful world of patch notes that we just got last night. I'm sure you already got a video on it, but what are your thoughts on the Rapid Strike style Urshifu buffs?
Oh, I mean, finally it's good. Thank
Okay.
goodness it's finally really, really good. It's level 5 now. The level 5 coming out of the central area with that Pokemon might be one of the most, if not the most brutal level 5s coming out of the jungle there. It reminds me a lot of Night/Zoroark. It's that freaking good, oppressive. You can't stop it. It's really, really brutal.
Oh, wow.
So I'm so happy to see that. And also, it's not as good as the other one. It's not good.
Sure. Yeah, that is a cruel fate that has been dealt to be put next to put next to a dark mode Urshifu. Lazadin, you were mentioning something. I repeat for Jake one more time. The surging strikes bug you were talking about.
Yeah. So you know how in the patch notes it says they made it so that it reduces the cooldown by 2 seconds?
Uh-huh.
That only applies to the base version of Surging Strikes. They accidentally forgot to make it apply to Surging Strikes Plus, so upgrading the Surging Strikes Plus is actually a nerf. So
Yeah,
just so
fine.
you're aware of
Everything's
that.
fine.
That's fine. Don't worry about that. Don't even look at that. That's fine.
So it's awesome that I love the water for woofs, and obviously even still with the bug, it's better than it was before. But it is something for people to be aware of. Don't be surprised when it feels a bit funny.
Yeah.
That's interesting because in general, as a build, it falls off late, and now it has that too. So that's
It falls off
unfortunate.
even harder. Unfortunate. Okay, what about
Shout
the
out
Unite
to
move? We have
shout out to
not.
someone in the math board. I forgot who it was for pointing that bug out to us, and then Evacron for notifying me in the middle of the podcast episode so I could tell everybody.
Okay, good. Yes, that is the kind of live updates I like to have on Overdunk. We add a guest midway through the show, and we learn about bugs midway through the show. That's that kind of show. Unite move, Flowing Fist. Number of time the user needs to deal damage in order to increase the follow-up attack's consecutive blows by 1, 3, now to 2. Is this enough to make this Unite move not troll?
No.
All right.
No, it's such a bad Unite move.
Okay, great.
It's so
Yeah.
bad.
The Unite
It's
move.
garbage.
Okay, here. Let me tell you what that Unite move says. It says, gain a shield for 30% of your max health and increase your attack speed by, increase your cooldown or decrease your cooldowns by 30% and gain 30% move speed. That is what that Unite move says.
Mm-hmm.
It does nothing else. Oh, you get fancy looking numbers too.
Yes.
The numbers
yes.
do look fancy. When it has a combo above your name and it shows 30 something, that's pretty cool. That might even just be worth it in general. You can kind of, if you're next to like a Delphox and they're the only one there, you're all alone, it's just you and that Delphox, you'd already be able to KO it, but you could press your button again and punch it for a while. That as long as it doesn't have full heal. And then if it had full heal, you wish you didn't.
Pokken never left, folks. It's still here, and it's just Urshifu Rapid Strike style. I love it. All right, next Pokemon that received some changes. Scizor, mobility, and attack power Sword Dance was too strong, according to this website. So it has been nerfed. Sword Dance now up to 6 seconds on cooldown, and the attack increase, really minor change, 15% down to 12%. I don't think Scizor really needed this nerf whatsoever, but it happened. Any thoughts from you two on the Sword Dance nerf?
Well, I mean, I guess Scissor didn't need it, right? But Scyther did, and it's just kind of the same move. So,
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
just caught
Scyther's
it
just
straight.
crazy strong. I don't know. I wonder what they do with something like this. There must be something internally that they know there's a break point somewhere where this is actually a legit nerf somehow. But yeah, it needed some nerfs. Playing it today, I feel like it's the same Pokemon.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Lazarus?
I don't know. Scizor caught us straight for no reason. I thought this Pokemon was bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's my opinion too. I think, yeah, internal breakpoint maybe, but maybe they just made it.
Double hit Scyther was already really, really good, and now you just have no reason to play it.
So
Or, like,
yeah,
not playing
interestingly
it.
enough, Swords Dance already had a longer cooldown when it was
I
on.
think that got a tweet correcting it. I could be wrong. Let
Oh,
me find
really?
it.
Oh, interesting. Because yeah, as it reads here, is that Swords Dance on Scyther was at 6 seconds and Scizor was at 5. But either way, that's changing. Swords Dance, same changes overall, same percentage for the attack increase and the cooldown. Dual Wing Beat now getting a 1 second longer cooldown and some changes to the Unite move Green Illusion Dive. Is this enough to knock Scyther away from one of the best Pokemon in the entire game? Or is this Pokemon still ridiculously busted? Lazadin?
Uh, I this doesn't really change that much. Like,
Right.
it means that again they're more incentivized to run double hit because that lets you cover the distance that your Unite move got nerfed by, so they could still one shot you from a full
Mm-hmm.
screen away.
Yes. Do we know if this fixed the bug with Scyther at
No,
all? It
no,
didn't. Okay.
and they're allowing it in UCS. I'm pretty sure because they pinged the UCS server and said Comphase banned. But
Right. Yeah,
oh
and
well.
yeah, nothing we're told about Scyther. Actually, yeah, we can talk about different times, Spraggles, about that. Anyway, let's keep moving on. Unless you had any thoughts on Scyther, Spraggles.
I just think it doesn't feel like they really did too much to it. And
Mhm.
actually, a lot of this patch, overall, my big thought with this patch is this is just sort of trimming the edges of things that are kind of completely overpowered and bringing it down to almost completely overpowered. That's a lot of what this feels like to me.
Hmm.
So even with, I'm sure we'll talk about other buffs and nerfs, so I won't jump ahead, but it just feels like in general they know that the game is this about the state it's in, and maybe they could tune down a few of these crazy Pokemon a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
And on the one hand, I'm glad because we have 3 days to practice. But on
Yes.
the other hand, I'm not very happy about this because, like, it sort of, like, we've been on this patch for one of the longest times we've ever been on a patch, right?
Yeah,
Like, the
that's
Christmas
true.
break, perfectly reasonable, right? Like, I'm not going to flame them for having this patch last a while. They had their holidays.
Yep.
Awesome. But when you have that sort of long break and then the patch after that feels like kind of a trimming patch, it definitely starts to feel stale for casual viewers.
Mm-hmm. I think they're trying to. I think it's a hope that the new Pokemon being added is enough of the spice to shake things up, but yeah, I'm not too sure. Also, when we get down to Hoopa, I don't know if it's that small of a, a trimming patch after
Well,
that, but
Hoopa.
yeah,
Hoopa, yeah.
we'll
Hoopa
see.
is something. It really
Yeah,
is.
it is true. Okay, that is one thing we have to talk about, though. Let's take a quick break from the numbers. February qualifiers is in looks at watch less than a week. This patch was released. I think obviously our thoughts on that being done are all pretty straightforward. However, Lazadin, how's the vibes in the general competitive community around scrims and everything? Is it a mad dash to just get in as much scrim time as possible? Are teams trying to be particularly stingy about hiding new strats? What is kind of the
Uh,
vibe on a new patch?
I have 4 scrims planned in 3 days.
Okay,
Most
cool.
teams are double booking.
Right.
Um, like, everybody is just. Inder couldn't be on the show tonight because he had scrims planned on top of it.
That
Like,
is true. Yeah, yeah. They had to
um,
move for like extra scrims. So, and
mhm.
yeah, they regretted not being here. But yes, obviously they're like they need the practice.
Yeah,
So,
no, totally reasonable.
mhm.
I think that we were supposed to have some scripts tonight actually, but they ended up not working out. Um, but it's like, yeah, like everybody is just gunning for it. Everybody's a little bit salty, but what can you do? You just gotta put your nose to the wheel or whatever the phrase is. I seem to have completely forgotten.
Grindstone, I
Um,
believe is the word you're digging for. But
Grindstone,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
Hmm.
And you deal with it, and you put up your best on Saturday.
Yeah, that's true. One thing as well, YNS was asking in the chat, Comfy is banned from February Open Qualifiers. It was
God,
announced in the official Discord, so no Comfy being allowed.
That makes total sense. They kind of have done this with every release that runs right
Hmm.
up to a tournament, I believe.
Yep.
So
yeah, I believe
that
they've
makes sense.
done.
Will it be banned also for UCS? Do we know about that?
UC
Like
We
for
don't.
the
ACL, you
actual
mean?
no,
Oh,
for
monthly
sorry,
finals.
for the
For
monthly rather than the
we don't
qualifiers.
know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And yeah, because now they're only a week apart in
They
this
said the
this
February
season.
Cup, but I believe the February Cup and the February Final have different rule sets. So
Hmm.
Interesting. We'll have to wait and see when it comes to that. I'm not too sure.
I'm actually going to open up a ticket right now.
Okay, great. That is a good question because, yeah, Comfy, I don't know how much it'll change, but it could. It could. More on Comfy later in this episode. But okay, Mr. Mime also received some changes. Confusion getting its damage reduced, Power Swap getting some general nerfs, as well as its Unite move Showtime getting the reduced damage by 10%. So Mime seeing some nerfs across the board to its best toolkit or best moveset, depending on who you ask, I suppose. But I think the general consensus was that Confusion Power Swap was the play, especially with how much Blastoise North America was playing. You put a leash on your Beyblade and that Pokemon goes crazy. So Mr. Mime was seeing a lot of play for even just that, but a great tank outside of it. Spraggles, what are your thoughts on this Pokemon's nerfs?
The interesting thing about Mime is how these specific nerfs are going to play out competitively. Because I can tell you, for the rest of the player base, Mime's fine. There's
Yeah.
nothing to worry about right here.
Absolutely.
I'm curious because when you get to the highest level of play, right, you start to understand that it's like a runner or something. You know, you want to shave off fractions of a second. So at that level, I think you could see some nerfs like this possibly meaning something. Maybe we'll see more barrier mimes, which is already really good in general. But I don't know. I'm running it. You're still healing. So I mean, I'm healing 50,000 damage a game with power swap still. You could still throw confusion and hit someone into a wall and power swap your ally. So it feels like, again, this whole patch, the nerfs of this patch are all just shaving off completely OP things and making them mostly OP.
Sure. Yeah, I wonder if the movement speed increase, you were talking about internal breakpoints that they have. I wonder if there's any particular instances that they're trying to allow Mime to not keep up with when they are speed increased to a linked ally. Rapid Spin Blastoise would be something that I would think of that you would try to keep out of range by a very, very slight decrease to the movement speed. But I'm not too sure. Lazanin, any thoughts on Mime? I know your team loves to play it. Slash is really carving themselves out a spot in the Mime Hall of Fame already in Unite history. So what are your thoughts on this Pokemon and its changes?
Real quick, there was a correction issued for this particular patch note. It's not 10, it's 8%.
Okay.
Which is a
So
pretty
even
minor.
More. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a pretty minor difference overall, but like could be impactful. I think that it's definitely not to the point where it's gutted, and mine was super strong. But I will need to run some specific numbers for confusion because that might change some secure ranges, which then might change its lane matchups, which then might make it worse. Overall, though, like power swap is still one of those broken moves in the entire game. Confusion isn't that nerfed if you hit someone into a wall.
Right, yeah.
The Unite move is still a ton of AoE CC. Like, it is definitely still a mon that is worth picking. It's just, is it a matter of, like, worth us banning Blissey and then first picking Mime? I'm not sure yet. That's going to be something we'll experiment with throughout the week.
Yeah, I think a lot of people's opinions of just the best possible bot lane you could have is my Mew. Like, that lane is absurd. I don't think there's many lanes that could actually stand up to it. So hopefully some secure range changes could bring this Pokemon more in line. We'll have to see. Clefable, Moonlight getting a pretty big HP restoration, increased by 15% on an AoE heal. That seems pretty insane, actually. And gravity time that the opposing Pokemon are left unable to act has gotten increased by a full half a second from 0.5 to 1 second. Spraggles, have you played any Clefable today? How you feeling about that?
I have. Yeah, you're putting out 200k healing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's legit. These are serious.
I got an update from the USCS admins. It will more than likely be allowed in the finals if there isn't some major bug discovered.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, Comfy will? That's interesting. I mean, I don't know. The crazy thing is, when you look at the supports right now in Pokemon Unite, I mean, they're all great. I don't know a single support that's bad right now. They're all amazing. Sableye has a very specific role. You know, they all have different roles essentially, but Eldegoss is really good. Hoopa just became amazing. This Clefable buff is really nice. And Gravity actually is a hard counter to a few Pokemon to deal with. So you can pick Clefable and you can counter Faint Zoroark, Water Bear. You can counter Dodrio pretty hard. Like there's actually some really good stuff with Clefable, and walking around and healing 3k every time you use your move, and you can heal your entire team that amount. That's huge.
Yeah. I think any time the meta starts slipping more and more towards flip metas, like we kind of are headed into these days, especially with Hoopa changes, I think that Gravity will just become such a strong move. I mean, you shut down so many secure attempts at Ray if you just stand near it with Gravity. All of a sudden, your big dash moves that try to leap in and secure, look at you, Scyther, have a much harder time playing around that with a good Clefable player. So,
Luca?
I think, yeah. Definitely. Well, yeah, Luca could just sit there and ult on top of it, but we've seen interesting things Lucario players will do to make sure they secure the main Pokemon, but who knows? But okay, Clefable, some big changes. Lazanin, any thoughts on Clefable before we move on to Hoopa?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I think is worthy of experimentation. The Moonlight Gravity already saw a little bit of play as a counter to some matchups. This the Gravity change specifically makes playing it at a it makes playing it well more rewarding.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really good.
Yeah, that's really cool. Also, it enables team play more. Like you're able to, communicate that your team that you've got a stun and they can capitalize on it a lot more consistently, which is great.
Yeah, all in all, great changes. Support meta is looking awesome.
Yeah, it's a good day to be supports for sure. Freckles, you were hitting it on the nose there, I think.
Yeah, they're just amazing, right? I mean, every single one of them's good. Is there a dud in the bunch? Maybe the
Chat was saying Wiggly. Chat was saying Wiggly's on the good spot, but that's kind of a tank, right? Like that's sort of what we would consider to be a tank role, not even really a support. But
I guess it is the only one that feels like it's not terrible, but just kind of mid.
Right. Yeah. Very true. All right, Hoopa, probably the biggest changes, not exactly a rework, but you could almost consider this first change a rework to how this Pokemon operates. Phantom Force, the move now targets a designated location instead of a designated Pokemon's location. Absurd change. Used to have to target a Pokemon to be able to use Phantom Force. Now you can target that anywhere, pop in, pop out, do Hoopa things. Hyperspace Hole also seeing some buffs. A 2-second cooldown nerf on this move. So good. Cooldown before ally Pokemon can return to the warp location is on a 5-second. Sorry, I said nerf before. I meant reduction. 5-second reduction there, and then the cooldown before Hoopa and ally Pokemon can start recovering HP is now immediate. So now you can immediately get back and start healing in base. Blissey just got better again. This is ridiculous. Unite move, rings unbound. Unite gauge needed, reduced by about 15%. They also buffed its ult. Oh my word. Lazanin, what is going on with Hoopa and why is it absolutely buffed to the nines?
Yeah, Hoopa has been I think it's always been somewhat decent in off season. I think it was definitely underrated, but it hasn't been played much at all. And also had one of the lowest win rates in the entire game, I believe. From a solo queue perspective.
Them and Trevenant have been kind of chilling at the bottom of the.
Poor Trevenant just completely overlooked this patch. I feel bad for the poor tree. Especially considering Sylveon's popular now. God, the thing's useless.
Yeah, it's so bad.
But yeah, Hoopa, the Phantom Force change alone would redefine the way you played Hoopa, right? Because it completely changes. There's those two walls that are next to Rayquaza that are the fastest way to get there. You can now just Phantom Force over them, right? You can find a lot of sneaky routes to try to go for Yamada plays, right, where you pop your ult on their base and score a bunch of points while they're trying to rip the Ray, right?
So many openings.
There's so much. This changes about the way the character plays. Even Trick Phantom Force, right? Trick Phantom Force gets a lot stronger now. Because you can trick someone and then they can dive and you can Phantom them Force wherever you want, or wherever and whenever you want to help bringing them back. It's so crazy. And then on top of that, lowering the cooldown on the Unite move makes it easier to. It was sometimes really, really hard to even fit two Like it was pretty rare for you to get 3 Hoopa ults in a match.
Right. You were second. Well, at the time, it was second dread and zap. Those were your.
Yeah,
That's when you
usually.
clicked your button. And that was pretty much it.
This makes it a little bit easier to squeeze that third one in sometimes,
Cool.
which would be super, super impactful.
Yeah.
Um,
That's exciting
and then
though.
the
That
hyperspace
that
cooldown.
makes me really excited. I like big. The reason I like Hoopa a lot is its playmaking potential. It feels like one of the supports with the most. I am going to turn the tide of the game instead of enabling another player to turn the tide of the game. And the Unite move, adding in a third Hoopa Unite into a game, is very exciting to me. If maybe too strong, but I am very excited about the prospect of it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Spraggles, any thoughts on Hoopa? Obviously, there's so many changes here, but yeah, any thoughts on this Pokemon?
Yeah, the Unite move thing is definitely a huge factor. From playing it a little bit, you can easily get 3 in a match for sure, especially if you're running something like Amp, which now that you have 3 Unites, might not be a bad idea to have something like that. Lowers your cooldowns. The portal also is, I mean, you see 5 seconds shaved off it, but it legitimately means that you can take a portal every time it's up.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
get it on the last possible frame, basically, if you take both portals immediately, but you essentially can take portals without ever worrying about it being on cooldown when you hit base, which is
Yeah.
massive. So if you're playing, Portal Hoopa, the heals are up all the time. If you're playing Portal Phantom Force, you're right back to that sort of invading the central area Hoopa that just portals themselves out if they want. Now, not only
Mhm.
can they portal themselves out, they can dash around you. It's going to be so me. I can't imagine seeing Ender playing this Hoopa because I remember watching how gross he was in the enemy central area, just kind of harassing them before. And this just makes it like it's almost free. The jukes that you can make with Phantom Force are absurd.
Yeah.
This Pokemon, I feel like, is going to be, I don't know. I think out of everything in this patch, this is probably the thing that rocketed up in the meta. Like
Oh, for sure.
a rocket ship shooting up. This is the only nerf or buff that feels like the most out of nowhere. Wow, they really want this Pokemon played.
It's also going to. I mean, I think that is absolutely true. It's also going to feel like the most by far because of how far down the win rate totem pole it was, too. It was just having such a hard time in the current meta, and seeing it completely spun around is very, very exciting. Yeah, you were mentioning Ender. Of course, Snow Points had to retire for like the third time right before this change happens. Unfortunate for me. Huge Snow Points on Hoopa fan, so that is too bad. But I mean, we're gonna get to see Espo, JL back playing Hoopa. Very big playmaking support. I
Mhm.
think NA has got some fantastic Hoopa players, and then of course EU. You
Y'all
got
disrespecting the best Hoopa at Worlds. Jeez.
that is true. Elo looking sick too. It's so hard for me to just pin Elo as a Hoopa player because I know their history of like an attacker player and jungler stuff. I'm like, they've done so much. It's so hard
Mhm.
for me to just say that. But yes, an incredible Hoopa player in their own right as well. So it's gonna be exciting. I am down for the Hoopa world. Wild that Comfy is not allowed to be played, but a brand new Pokemon in Hoopa version 2 is. So it'll be exciting. Okay, Dragon Bolt change happened. Is this worth talking about? Shadow Ball damage increase?
It's secretly the biggest buff of the entire
Oh
patch.
my gosh. All right,
Really?
Cowboy, talk to me. Why is damage increased by
I'm lying.
12%?
I'm lying. I don't even like playing it. I still like the fire better. I don't know.
Okay.
Dragapult's like whatever right now. It's
Yeah.
fine, but it's not setting the world on fire. It's not even shadow balling the
No,
world. So
you
I
can't.
don't
All
know.
right.
This makes Shadow Ball a button worth pushing for anything other than a dash, I guess.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It really felt like you were throwing like water at rocks. I don't know. It was rough. It was not a good look before. No, okay.
Yeah, it was so weak before, but its other move has so much more utility still, I feel like. The thing about Dragon Breath is it's charging up your boosted and it will slow enemies. It's on the battlefield for a minute there. I don't know. It's just better.
Yeah.
It's just better. We'll have to see. Maybe people will really like Shadow Ball. Maybe they can get some, you can kind of set up a big assassination with it with the extra damage and such, but I don't know. I played a good amount of games with it actually, and I'm not in love with it. It's fine.
Yeah. I like playing Dragapult, but yeah, Shadow Ball definitely really didn't seem like the way to go. But okay, awesome. Well, that's gonna wrap up our talk on patch notes, which I think we talked about it, how it is a meta addressing patch, not too many huge sweeping changes, just changing some of the really, really strong Pokemon, buffing up a couple of the Pokemon that are really, really weak, but well, they really delivered in that way, specifically with Hoopa, of course.
Did we talk about Sableye? Am I dumb? Maybe we already
before you joined, we did. Do you want to say anything about Sableye?
I think it's cool that you can punish it a little harder.
Yeah.
From what I understand, there's a little bit of a combo with it now, so you can do a little more burst damage. But you definitely feel like if you've got a beat on it, you're following it, you can actually punish it more, which is necessary. So that's all I would say about it.
Yeah. I think it's a good amount of counterplay, so I'm excited for it also. And Spraggles. There we go. Now it's on the overlay. Oh, not that. Oops. Cool. Yeah, I'm excited about the Sableye changes. Hopefully it helps in solo queue. I know you are a solo queue aficionado, Spraggles, so I hope it's okay for you out there. And
me too.
I hope it gets better.
It's hell out here, Zoinks. We're just trying our best right now.
It's okay. Low key, I've actually been enjoying solo queue this season. I'm not as highly ranked as other players, but I've been enjoying solo queue. I've been having some fun. Maybe to the normal level that I've enjoyed it in the past. I think this meta's kind of fine with where I find. But last,
you know what I would say about it? Solo queue and all that really quick. I've actually noticed things are getting a lot sweatier in trios than previously.
Yeah.
Like trios feel a lot sweatier. Solo queue is still insane. Like nothing makes sense.
Yes.
Your Slowbro's pinging you the whole time. They start spinning AFK in base. Nobody's happy, but trios, I've found that trios I feel like they're really sweaty and they pair you into fives more. And I don't know if anyone's experiencing this. I'm just curious. Maybe your chat can weigh in. I'm getting sent to other servers faster than I was. I don't know if that just happened today.
We noticed that while we were prepping for Unite Rivals. Actually, we queued into downs 3 times in a row on ladder.
Weird. Okay, I was just curious because that's something I noticed.
By the way, minute and a half or to a minute.
I was getting under a minute, right under a minute, and they're sending me to Japan, which I've never had before. It always is over a minute 15, and now today on stream multiple times I'm sub 1 minute and I'm getting sent to Japan. And I don't know if it's my rank or something like that, but they're just like, get out of here. Go.
Interesting. Yeah. That is so interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's a bug. Maybe it's intended. Who knows? So dumb when it comes to things like that. But Lazadin, you have a new project that you wanted to talk about. I think this is a really good spot in the show to bring it up. So what is this new project that you've been hard at work at that you want to plug here in Overdunk?
Oh man. Yeah. So I've been working with a couple of different people. We've been setting up a few different partnerships. We have created a new, and when I say new, I mean we took an old server and reworked it. One-stop competitive shop, basically. It's going to have math core resources. It's going to have tournaments, in-houses. There's a ladder bot coming.
Awesome.
Basically everything you could ever want to try to break your way into the competitive scene is called Unite Ascension. It's owned by myself as well as the one of the old AOS Frontier owners, Heroic Spirit Gamer.
Cool. Heroic.
We as the world champions are backing it up and trying to help encourage more people to get into the scene. We got all sorts of fun content coming out with some of your favorite content creators. We've got a tournament coming up. It may or may not be this Sunday. It might get delayed a month because of how the tournament schedule is working. Who knows?
Right.
There's a ton of really cool stuff coming, and check out my Twitter. The Discord link is there.
Yeah, and we'll reshare it on the Unite Mike's socials and everything like that too. And I think this is a fantastic project. I'm really excited for it, Lazadin. And I get messages all the time of Zoinks, how do I get involved in the competitive community? Like, I think I'm pretty good at the game. I just haven't had that shot yet, you know? Like, a lot of the top player discords can be kind of exclusive. People don't really want to play with people they don't know and things like that. And this is a awesome opportunity for you to, one, prove yourself, or two, just be around like-minded players and find a really good competitive place to play. Because Spreggles, I think you agree with this. Like, the way to one of the best ways to have fun in Unite, but also just to improve, is playing in 5-6. It is to learn the game as a team of 5, and when you don't have a place to do that, it can be tough. And I think this place is going to be a really good spot. Do you agree, Spreggles, though, that playing in 5s is the best way to learn and get better?
Well, I mean, it's the best way to learn and get better at the highest level of the game, right? It's a different game. 5 stacks is a different game. The players are playing at a much higher level than most other places, and it is not it's not the same in a lot of ways. There are different factors you have to account for. It's way more, based on the team skill than it is in other modes and things like that. It's the reason the world champs didn't lose a single game is because of things like that. So yeah, I agree. It's the highest level of play inside Pokemon Unite, and it really is a true test of your skill. I don't know if it's always the most fun. It depends on who you're queuing into.
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes you queue into the world champs and you think, oh, that's not very fun. Actually, that wasn't fun at all.
Oh, really? I disagree. If I'm getting absolutely demolished in solo queue, I have way less fun than if I'm on a team of 5 and we get mollywops. Like, we score a donut at the end of the game. I feel better if it was in a coordinated stack of 5. I'm like, okay, I learned. I got to see what they did good, and then I can try to do it better. But maybe I'm too much of an optimist in that way. But okay, awesome. So one more time, Lazadin, the name of the actual server.
That is Unite Ascension.
Unite Ascension. Okay, fantastic. Keep your eyes peeled, of course, to Lazadin's socials to go see a plug of that, but also the Unite Mike's socials. We will try to share it there as well. Awesome. Well, before we have another topic that I wanted to talk about. We finally got a rule book, Lazadin. A rule book for UCS. It's, again, Chex Watch a week before the actual event. But what do you know? An official rule book has finally been published. I'm going to bring it up here on the actual stream. If anybody wants to, if either of you two have any specific notes that you saw in here or something that you wanted to talk about, you can bring it up. The one thing that I thought was pretty exciting, we have confirmation emblems are not going to be in the tournament mode used at all, and confirmation that draft will be used. So, yeah, that is the two biggest things that were for me. There's a few more things about tournament dates and in-person events and things like that, but Lazadin, did you have a chance to look this over? Anything like that exciting for you to see?
Yeah, so obviously everybody's number one reaction day one was, wow, they disabled emblems.
Yep. Uh-huh.
All the emblems are gone. And that's, on the one hand, it's good because, only top 8, we'll get to that. Yeah. On the one hand, it's good because random acquisition, forcing you to grind the game, no bueno, just not good. And sometimes you just not even get the proper emblem sets, even if you do grind the game a bunch. It's bad. However, I would have been happier if they found a way to make the emblem system fair.
Okay.
Because
that's optimal solution for you is play with emblems if it was a fair setup for competitive integrity.
Yeah, because I do think there's a lot to be gained from having specific builds, and it lets people kind of express themselves a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I do agree with the decision for the time being.
Okay, interesting. Spreggles, thoughts on emblems and them not being included in UCS?
Yeah, it's just a mess. It's it's just messy. Maybe if there was a way, what they'd have to do is just set up a section that just says tournament page or something like that.
Sure.
And you could have a list of tournament. It's just tough. So now you need to have multiple emblem setups. They need to be, as Laz was saying, they need to be sort of fair across the board. So it can't just be that I pulled way more energy rewards, so I've got the gold Gengar and you don't. They've, equalized items. So I think they're just thinking, I don't know how to do this. So I guess we just have to drop it, which I actually think is a bummer. I like emblems a lot. I like the variety that they add to the game. But yeah, it's just not fair. Especially like let's say new players or new orgs or new whatever wants to come into the scene, and it's like, yeah, you're behind, and there's nothing you can do about it. I hope the lottery goes well for you.
Right. Yeah. It is account sharing definitely not allowed in the eyes of the law. So we cannot have that included either. So which could be a danger if that was the case. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of the Debbie Downer on emblems. I don't want them ever included, even if it was a easy access thing. There's a reason they've been removed from every other competitive MOBA, like at the competitive level. Like it just doesn't work. They never do. It's so upsetting. I don't enjoy them. I can see the appeal, especially for a content creator like you, Spriggles. I think probably one of your most asked questions is, what emblems are you running? I'm sure you get that quite a bit. So maybe you have a love-hate relationship with them. But yeah, they have never been. I have never been quite fond of them. But there are more things to talk about in this rulebook other than that, though, and Kratos mentioned it in chat. Only top 8 for monthly finals. They are cutting monthly finals in half this year. Only 8 teams from the Open Qualifiers make it into the monthly finals. Do we have any word on if teams who win monthly finals get auto-qualified for the next one? I don't believe we do yet, unless I haven't seen it. Lazadin, do you know that?
I'm not sure.
Okay, probably
I'd have
not.
to assume they don't, right? I have no idea,
Yeah.
but I would just guess they don't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would make sense. I mean, it was the top 4 last year were
Mhm.
auto qualified for the next monthly finals. That was a very big deal towards AOS Cup, and now with AOS Cup being in person for EU, that means that you have to qualify through the Open Qualifier. It's pretty wild, but okay. Thoughts on this, Spraggles? Why don't you start? What about cutting the monthly finals numbers in half?
I'm wondering what they want to do. I don't know how many they're trying to show on broadcast or
Mm-hmm.
something like
Yeah,
that.
Sneaky
I'm
Seal
not.
on Twitter was talking about the same thing. Like, is this with an attempt to have every game broadcasted? Because that's a big point of at least spectator feedback, especially around Worlds. Like, kind of wild that our first Worlds we had tons of games off stream, but
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that was interesting. I mean, I remember being there in person, and when we weren't casting, the other pair would run to the side stages to
yeah,
kind
we
of see
did.
what was going on. And then we'd run back in moments and we'd be like, oh, they're up by 1. They lost 1 game to T2 or something. You know,
Yeah,
we'd
the
have
amount
those
of times we
moments.
would like take our headsets off to like get information from the other casters who were running back and forth and being our on-site
Oh
reporters
my
was a
god.
lot. It was exciting for sure.
Yeah, I get it. I get that you want to show everything, and maybe that's what they're looking for is, let's show every team go at it. I don't even know, because I remember when we were running it though, it feels like there were just some games they couldn't show, right? There's just not enough time.
Not enough time. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of wild because Pokemon in the past has done it. I would love just B stream. Get a B stream, hire more talent. Of course, that's something I would love to appeal for. I would love to work for Pokemon, so hire more talent, make that work, and that would be really, really fun for me. But anyway, this is going to put a lot of pressure on teams, and I think it makes February Open Qualifier maybe one of the most important tournaments of the entire year. You fumble this tournament and your seeding is going to be terrible for the rest of the year, because as a reminder, everyone, seeding for this tournament uses last year's UCS championship points for seeding. But going forward, it is only CP from this competitive season. Now, I think that is probably the correct decision to do, but if you are not auto-qualifying for the next tournament and you have a really bad qualifier one round and you fumble your CP, you have a long, long road to climb back up. Facing good teams in bracket in open qualifiers hurts every year. It's the reason they're seeding in tournaments is to avoid these things, but either way, it's going to be very intensive and very stressful for teams. Lazadin, what are you thinking about this?
Okay, let's see. Political answer. Let's go with that one. I think it's
Sure.
definitely going to be a problem, for
Okay.
sure. Like I hope that there's some mitigation for it. Obviously, like last year you had a lot of teams that were pretty good getting kind of like stuck because they either weren't there near the beginning of the year or they placed poorly near the beginning of the year. And then you had teams that like got to the, finals every month pretty consistently that like if you actually saw those teams like them play the teams that didn't qualify, like no chance that they're ever beating them, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So like that's always like a concern in my head. I think that if the purpose is to, I am so sorry, my phone going off again. If the
it didn't
purpose
happen,
was
I would be
to-
upset by now. It
if
needs
the-
to happen every episode.
I delayed it to 8:30, and this episode's an hour and a half long. What are you going to do?
That is true.
If the purpose is to broadcast every single game, awesome. That is good for competitive integrity because playing as like, if you're gaming Gladiators last year, almost all your games got broadcasted. It was straight unfair. Like I had
Seriously.
so much data on them, right?
It's brutal. In a MOBA, imagine. Like, if this is an FPS title, like a console gaming or something like that, sure, you learn search strats or something like that. But in fast-moving paced games, whatever. Or a card game, right? You have deck knowledge, but even they have like open team sheets now or open deck lists for Pokemon trading card game. VGC has open team sheets for VGC. They're trying to mitigate the amount of information overload from some people where information is completely unheard of from other people, and the broadcast schedule is crazy for that. TTV had so much footage on them. People knew exactly what Bush Goof was in every single rotation. It's brutal.
Yeah. Versus like some teams, like the opposite is true. Like I don't even remember seeing, like there was a couple of teams that got top 8 pretty consistently that I can't even remember that many broadcasted games of.
Yeah.
Blackhand is one of them.
Yeah,
yes, actually,
like
They really weren't on broadcast much. It was very interesting having them kind of qualify as the #1 team from NA because they were not shown much on broadcast. And then of course they had prom, so that also bumped them off broadcast. Yeah,
thanks, Billy.
Just moments like that.
It's
weird.
It's so awesome. I love that story so much. Prom Lord
I was
to
not
the
on the team.
Oversword at World Champions. I mean, just what a story. Really, what a story.
Yeah. But like, it's in all seriousness, like it also like from a sponsorship perspective, right? Like it's if they broadcast all games, that's more attractive to sponsors because that means there's more time on stage. Blackhand in some ways, even though I have my personal disagreements with them, they were kind of like the broadcast schedule kind of made it so they got less value out of the money they pay their team, right? Like
sure.
And that's not super fair to them. So I think overall it would just be more fair for everyone involved if every single game was broadcasted, and if that's what this is for, awesome. If they're just reducing it by top 8 to top 8 for not that reason, I don't know what to say other than oof.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's tough to think of another reason that would actually benefit other than just having a more like competitive end game in terms of like high championship points. Like this is basically going to have a storyline of a team starting in mid-season or something coming up very, very difficult to earn enough championship points to actually be relevant for a regional finals, which makes regional finals being open into in-person event, like kind of one into the other, something interesting. So, the top 16 making it there for regional championships. But Spriggles, any more thoughts on? I mean, you already gave yours on top 8, right? So. Yeah,
I mean, it's really interesting. I have to assume they're trying to show more on broadcast. I'm very curious as to what's going on with the in-person events. Like,
perfect.
How is
transition.
that gonna work? How's it gonna work from a qualifier to an in-person? How far away is it? A week or 2 weeks?
So I have the dates up here. I can bring it up onto stream. So we have the actual tournament qualification and progression. This also confirms that there will be no teams who finish in finals auto qualifying for the next finals. So because We have only 8 teams, and 8 teams advance. So that is pretty clear. So the in-person event for EU is AOS Cup. So the top 16 advance into the AOS Cup finals. And then the top 16 from AOS Cup in EU, top 8 advancement to AOS Cup finals in-person events. So the 16 play online, and then the in-person play in person. Now, I think I did have dates for this just a moment ago. Where? Oh, here we go. Okay, so AOS Cup finals for
Oh,
EU.
okay. I kind of see this. So it goes from the 25th on qualifiers to the 14th. So they've got weeks to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they have
Okay.
almost half a month. And then regionals is the same way. So regional championship Open Qualifier is June 3rd, and then the regional finals is June 2023. I'm assuming I don't know anything for sure. I'm assuming they're lining that up with the North America International Championships for the rest of Pokemon in Columbus. I have to assume. I mean, it's in Columbus every year. It's the biggest Pokemon event in North America every single year when Worlds is not held here. I would have to imagine they're just going to tie on to that same event. They don't have to. It's just that event is usually also in June. So I would be pretty shocked if it was not tied in with that. EU, I don't know. I mean, there is the EUIC, so the International Championship in EU. I don't know if they would pair that up again, but they do have the option to. Okay, so Spraggles, your first reservation was just timing, but it seems like that's a little bit alleviated. Outside of that, any concerns or excitement for in-person events?
Look, I mean, we got to do an in-person event, and it was freaking hype. I mean, it's so cool. It's great to be next to another caster. It's great to be there with the players. There's so much energy in the room. The hype around Pokemon Unite is real. People are excited watching it, and they're cheering in the stands. So, I mean, there's no question. I would love for so much of this to be in person. I don't know how to make it all work, because it felt like going to Worlds, it's a whole production. I mean, it's big. There's trailers, and you go out to them, and they've set up mobile command units, and there's cables running everywhere, and there's setups, and there's multiple people. Like, we're your handler, and we run information back and forth. It's just a lot. It's so much to do.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that they have multiple in-person events, because it's a massive undertaking.
It is. I do know a lot of the production like some personal connections to the production company who works for Pokemon. Who's not running production for this event, as far as I know. I believe it's still Esports Engine with that contract. So, but I mean, Pokemon runs pretty huge regional events, almost like twice a month now. Like Orlando has, like this upcoming weekend, I think has 1,500 TCG players, which is crazy. But they do a broadcast all year. They just announced their casters for this upcoming event, which is very, very exciting. So, I mean, I think the facilities are there. Like we would just be tying in. I wouldn't be too worried about that in terms of production. I think a few concerns come up for practice areas for players. Do they exist, or are they just a table? It's a big concern.
It's okay for it to be just a table when you're playing TCG or cart, right? Because it's a one-on-one game. Those are both one-on-one games. All they really need is 2 devices or 2 decks and a mat, right? When you're dealing with five devices per team that all need to be pre-approved and checked, which, by the way, that is another interesting thing in the rules, is you are allowed to bring your own device.
Yeah, mobile players, absolutely.
Slash no longer nerfed.
Yeah. Same with Klaus. Dude, Klaus was devastated when he learned he had to use that other phone. Absolutely devastated.
Slash is tablet player, so he was completely just doomed. But he did really, really well. He plays Unite on the tablet. So those are the concerns. Obviously, there's also more in-person events is really, really hype. I'm super, super excited. I wasn't able to go to Worlds last year because it was kind of a last-minute tack on as far as contracts go for the team.
Right.
So I am super, super hyped to probably get to attend regionals this year. I'd be genuinely shocked if we didn't make it.
Yeah. So
it's gonna be super fun to meet everybody.
But yeah.
I don't get me wrong. So hype above everything else The practice concerns, and then obviously safety concerns. You're dealing with a bunch of gamers that are mostly below the age of 21. There's some stupid crap happening.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are like my two things, but otherwise just pure hype on my end.
Yeah. In-person events for Pokemon are truly a unique experience compared to, like, I've been in esports for a long time. I haven't been working in them for a long time, but I've been a fan of them for a long, long time. And I've attended Pokemon events, and I've attended LANs of other games as well. And Pokemon is its own unique thing. It's very, very cool. Not often can an IP like this truly capture a bunch of different competitive identities under one umbrella and still make it so much fun. And I think Unite fits really well into these. I hope that's my reasoning, that I hope we are really a part of these other huge Pokemon events. If we're not, I still think the event will be smaller, but it will be exciting. It'll be a lot of fun. Just seeing all the people that you meet up with is exciting. Travel is going to be tough for these teams. Going to be some teams that it's going to be cost prohibitive and it's going to be tough, but usually this event, if at least for North America, is held in the Midwest. Traditionally not a very difficult place to get to travel-wise. So it should be possible for most people, and Unite Mics might have something specific cooking for something like that. We're going to try to help out some teams, but more on that at 11.
Let them cook. Let them cook.
Oh, I'm so happy that hit.
Who
the
let
cast.
Curious cook?
Who let Curious cook? I saw one screenshot of Curious was like, they let me cook, and then he got 3-0'd by Telebobo Believers, and I was devastated. Anyway, yeah, you gotta fix that, Lazadin. Yeah, I think other than that, rulebook wise, there's a bunch of other little unique things. Draft pick sides, higher seed gets to pick what side they start on. That makes sense to me. And then they auto switch each time, so the loser doesn't pick side, which is interesting, but I mean, I'll just streamline it a bit better, I guess. So that's good.
Yeah.
Lazadin, you had something else you want to mention?
Pretty fair. That feels pretty fair.
Yeah, that feels pretty fair. Coaches are allowed to be in lobby during draft.
Yeah.
Like, not in lobby, but like in a VC, right?
Yeah, not
Last
in
year there was a
lobby,
very explicit rule that said nobody else in the VC. I'm not sure how they would ever enforce that, to be fair. It's kind of, like,
it's hearsay,
really hard
right?
to,
like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hearsay. But like they did, there was like a admin asked, and they said yes, you can help during the drafting phase. That's super, super exciting for me personally. I get to undeafen for an additional 2 minutes per game.
Yeah, it's an exciting advancement in competitive Pokemon Unite. Other MOBAs drafting phase coaches are very involved. They are often just the only people speaking. But it is exciting to have that coming to the game. I don't know if it'll translate into in-person events. Who knows?
I pray it will.
It's
would
a
love
new
to be
thing.
on stage.
Unite is such a new thing for Pokemon people. Like, I can't describe this enough. We've had the trading card game for so many years, but Unite is a new animal. Spraggles, what are your thoughts on coaches maybe having a more of a heavy hand in terms of drafting side of things?
I mean, that's great. I would assume that, the top teams, they already have it's very clear what's about to happen inside this draft. And I mean, draft itself also is just, it's the greatest thing for competitive Unite. There's many things, if it works. If there are many things that, they could do to make it better, but I will say not seeing a mirror all the time inside the meta, not seeing teams just be like, Urshifu, mine. Like, thank goodness. It's so good.
Can you imagine the last patch if it wasn't draft? Oh my god.
It would be a
Two Urshifus sitting there charging their attacks in each other's faces.
It's brutal. I mean, I got a first-hand experience of casting those over at Battle Hub, right? Because their formats, that like stacking band format that they use in their tournaments, which is a fun little twist. I know there was a lot of different formats experimented with over the offseason. Spraggles, your format was tested a few times on some tournaments with your Showdown format.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
We tried some with Mayhem, the stacking bands at Battle Hub. There's definitely a lot of experimentation. I think in the end, draft is just clearly my favorite and by far and away the best one.
Yeah, so much goes into it. You get to see some really fun strategic choices. You also get teams that kind of get exposed a little bit because you will pick away some of their best Pokemon and you realize that, this supporter actually isn't as great with Mime or any other tank, like they really play Blissey, and we need to take that. Like it really exposes some teams. It's very cool, and it just lets teams like for instance, I think of a team like Nouns right away, where it feels like their roster is so deep. They do really well with the draft, and it's really cool to see that level of play get to Unite, because that continues to separate the best teams from the rest of the teams.
Yeah. Yeah, I personally agree. Lazanin, any more thoughts on the rulebook and sort of the competitive layout for this upcoming season?
Let me think. Not really. I think we've covered most of the important points. I will say, I wonder if this will lead to more people going into coaching roles, because currently there's only like, at least in NA, it's like me and Feppy, and that's it. At least that I know of.
Yeah, EU actually has some more, right? I mean, Stars
EU has
on Apprentice. Junkie has done a lot of coaching in the past. I don't know if they're continuing doing so, but like they have some
believe he is.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
that's what I understood.
Definitely some players that do coaching.
Yeah. Oh, now it says Blaine, obviously. Now it says Blaine. Blaine's awesome.
Oh, I didn't know if they were calling themselves a coach or still just water boy or what the deal was.
Sorry, towel boy.
Towel boy. That's right. But yes, all right. Well, that's gonna bring us close to the end. We were asked to do some power rankings right now, which is an interesting thing to do because one, we were asked specifically to do region power rankings. Like, where are the regions looking at the start of the season? So we've seen some ACL. We've now seen Rivals, which is probably our best preview towards NA and EU. We don't know too much about South America outside of a couple of tournaments. So I think we're probably going to save regional rankings until next episode at the very least. But
I'd say 2 episodes personally. I want to see all regions finals first.
Yes. Oh, wait. Does Asia have their finals happening as well?
But they have
ACL final. Got it.
Yeah.
Yes. And I want to see not these pickup teams that were made on invites. I want to see the new teams that Japan has and everything. I'm really excited for that. But either way, Spraggles, I know you have watched and casted a ton of Unite in the last few weeks, including some ACL stuff. I don't know if you casted any ACL, but how's ACL looking in comparison to now you've seen a ton of footage on North America and EU? Who do you think takes the lead in that regard?
Well, I mean, I could be wrong about this, but it feels like ACL is now drafting similar to NA and EU. It feels like when I was first watching their drafts, it felt pretty chaotic.
Yes.
I don't know. They were picking some pretty odd things. There are a few teams that really stand out, like High Five, I think is a super legit team. But in general, I felt like they were just drafting in a bizarre way. I don't know if the vibe is way more relaxed. Like they're like, let's have some fun. Let's pick a Zoomerl first or something.
India,
because I don't know, when I'm watching it, I feel like what I see from NA and EU is stronger.
Yeah.
By the way, I made a claim 2 episodes ago that India never did trades. I went back and checked the VODs. I was correct. They actually just drafted in the order that the player was going to play them.
There you go. When you know, you know. You just got to line up in lobby with how you're going to draft, I guess. I guess that's how it works.
Maybe were they told to do that so things didn't break or something? I don't even know.
The other regions traded.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe if India was specifically told, who knows? I don't know. But okay, yeah, I think NA and EU are looking absolutely clean. I think that North America has a lot of teams fighting for those top 8 positions. I really do think there's like 10 to 11 teams in my mind that are very, very strong and all have a place within that top 8. EU, I think, is really, really top heavy with a few specific teams, but I think there's probably 7 or 8 teams that I think of that are very, very strong contenders as well. So this Open Qualifiers is going to be very exciting this upcoming weekend.
Be sure to check twitter.com on Saturday afternoon and you'll figure out what two teams didn't qualify real fast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you will.
That is true. But yeah, upcoming this weekend as well. I know I can guarantee that Chris Heroes is going to be casting a bunch of, for sure, the EU Open Qualifiers. I assume they'll probably do some North America as well. So check out Chris doing that. Deuce and I are most likely going to be casting a bunch of North America Open Qualifier games as well. I have had quite a few teams reach back out. I've reached out to a bunch of teams and they have given me permission to spectate their games. I know teams are a little cagey on that kind of stuff with draft and things like that. Totally understandable. With only 8 teams making it, things are pretty competitive. So, being said, if you're a competitive team, you want to have your games casted, let me know. But yeah, it's going to be a really exciting weekend. Spraggles, thank you so much for joining mid-episode and answering the Batman signal that I put up into the air with just a large cowboy hat illuminated. But thank you so much for joining. Is there anything you want to plug before we end the show?
I don't think so. You can check me out on YouTube. I will probably be casting NA. I don't think EU, but I'll probably be casting some NA qualifiers as well over on my channel. And yeah, I mean, check me out. Look at me. I'm flexing right now. Did you even know that? It's a podcast, but it's true.
And Lazanin, anything that you want to plug before we end the show?
I already have my plug in the middle of the episode, but for personal plugs, obviously Twitter, Twitch, whatever. I will not be streaming at all during the qualifiers. I will be in my Team VC, and we will be having a blast, I'm sure. You might see me hop into like some Twitch chats here and there, though, like between rounds.
Cool.
But yeah, we'll probably be mostly doing that. But be on the lookout for. We are going to be putting out team content extremely soon. Now that the project's out, we've got a couple content creators we're working with. It's going to be awesome.
Sweet. Yeah.
And I think I was going to put out a patch reaction video or like a stream within the next couple of days. I'm not sure what my schedule looks like. That would be on the lookout for that.
Cool. Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. Well, if you want to follow me at ZoinksCast on Twitter, but most importantly, check out this podcast, Overdunk, on any podcast platform. Leave a review. Helps more people find the show, of course. And all of these episodes get uploaded at youtube.com/UniteMics. Check us out and check out all of the episodes that we have backlogged there. It's a very exciting time for Unite. UCS is finally here. Open qualifiers start off. And honestly, it feels like the most competitive time or era that we have had to Unite so far. I cannot wait. We will see you all next time on Overdunk. Until then, good luck in your solo queue, Spraggles. Have a lot of fun. Bye-bye.
Bye.
May you have...